yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy.
Hello viewers, God's evening to all of you. You're welcome to State of the Mind Address. I'm Dale Quest, your host, and we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take the address. Don't go away, stay glued to your set. We'll be right back.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy.
Chocho Herbal Clinic here. We are pleased to provide you with quality herbal health care. Oh, how listen.
Chocho Herbal Clinic dear. Esanse wa pomudin wa yaresa ho hia yentino. Ye wo mremo bia. Ye wo highly qualified professionals a. Wodi abefum fidie behwehwe ne esi wa pomudin ho kwan. Ne apano aduro nso amawo. Well equipped gym a obetumi atentene wumpomu nso wa ha. Aha nso dear, ebibiduro kro gin ye desire dear. Nyaminti ya de kwa de baye no ohun beto ma de nigi akofie ye wo Suhum Highways 44
Chocho Herbal Clinic somuye papano.
I want to remind you of something you may not have thought about: the pain, the trauma, and the deplorable prison conditions associated with imprisonment. For you to think through your actions before committing crime or being lured into crime.
Prison is everybody's second home. If you haven't witnessed it, you may be dreaming that maybe it's a place that doesn't exist, but it's a place that really exists.
Be in prison for a second, like hellfire. The room you sleep is being locked by somebody, and the key is taken out. Papa,
this track is the only available one to take you to hospital.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery.
Hello viewers, you're welcome back to State of the Mind Address, and this segment is the address. Today I would just like to take something from the scripture from Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1 to 11. It's something concerning time. We all know that time is a function. It's stationary, can be dynamic. Time is of the essence. Time is needed in everything that we do. In this particular realm that we live, time is very important. And so as I read the scripture, I would want you to listen to me with rapt attention. I know probably you might be familiar with it, but just listen to it. It says that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war in a time of peace. What profit had he that worketh in that wherein he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God had given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He had made everything beautiful in his time. I'd want to end there and repeat it again. It says that, verse 11, he has made everything beautiful in his time. We know, probably it's a jargon, most people say that, do you know what time it is? I mean, some of you have heard it in lyrics of some songs, popular songs in this very country. If I ask you what time it is, probably if you are wearing a watch, you would look on your wrist and then tell me that it is 7:15 or 7:20. That's your time. But in the very last line, it said that he makes everything beautiful, not in your time, but in his time. That suggests that God has a wristwatch. Yes, God may have a wristwatch. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we would like things to happen in our time, but the question we should be asking is that what time is it on God's wall clock or God's wristwatch? Everything that God does beautiful is done in his time, not in your time. And that is why when people say that God is delaying in setting blessings, the question you should be asking yourself is that, is your time the same as God's time? What is your time and what is God's time? This address is just to encourage someone who is watching us now that whatever thing that you might be going through, whatever thing you're waiting for, probably you are comparing your life to the life of other people who seems to be speeding up. But the question is that, do you see yourself as a very different person created by God? And your life is unrolling based on God's time for your life and not the person's time for your life. One of the things that we try to do is that we compare ourselves to people a lot of times. We try to compare our lives to people when we see people running. But the truth is that it's not about the person that is running faster. It's about the person who finished well. It's about the person who finished and said, it's finished. It's not about the person who sped off when the gun was shot. It doesn't also mean that you should be sluggish on your path to destiny. But the question is, if you know God's time for your life and you systematically learn what needs to be learned so that you can execute it, at the end of the day, you would execute your life well, and you can be able to say that it is finished. There's a time for everything, like we read in the scriptures. A time for everything. So when is not your time yet? As you wait, prepare yourself. As you wait, learn. The most important thing that you do when waiting for yours to come, or whatever it is, whether it be a blessing, is to have patience. And in your patience, you must be preparing yourself. Because when opportunity meets preparation, a lot of things happen. What time is it? What is God's time? Today, this evening, I would like you to look at the wall clock in God's bedroom and check his time. In his time, he makes all things beautiful. This is the State of the Mind address. I am Dilquist. We'll be right back to take the second segment, which is mind surgery. Don't go away. Stay glued to your set. We'll be right back.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy.
Amanfue! Wonim say ye kwa ye ba ye timpintin kwa nyina. Ye yare. Aduane a ye die, ensu a ye nom, empomframa ye home. Ni nyina yare nko a. Enam ni senti, na Cine Plus TV. Ye di dwumade sonko bi kura ebremu. Ya to ne din Cine Health Fair. Apomudin dwumade. Enam ni senti ye to nsa de afremu. Herbal clinics ahodo nyina. Dwumade bia wodi a ede apomudin ebre omanfo. Semumra na momfa mo ho emedom Cine Plus TV ne fa Cine Health Fair apomudin dwumadie emre mo open chechremu bia fresa ahomatrofo eso 0247 928 431 anase 0267 145 050 Cine Health Fair apomudin dwumadie.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery.
You're welcome to the segment. It's called The Mind Surgery, and in this segment what we do is to discuss life issues, social issues. We try to dissect it so that your mind will be stretched and then you get a certain understanding as to what we're discussing. Today we're discussing in the next 20 years. The address talked about time, and in this segment we're going to talk about in the next 20 years. But for us to appreciate and understand what is going to happen in the next 20 years, I'm not a prophet, we will have to probably look back in time. 20 years ago was 1997, and I believe that a lot of things have changed. The things that you're used to, the things that you probably saw in those times has changed. A lot of things around you has been upgraded. We've had a lot of evolution in various sectors, technologically speaking, family-wise, education, health, and even in business. Those times we realized that people used to queue just to get SIM cards to make phone calls. We had what you call the toll booth, and we slot in certain cars, we buy certain credits at a certain cost, and then we slot in just to make a call to someone. Sometimes we have to queue. This time around, we have some of these telecommunication companies chasing us with their SIM cards as low as 1 CD, 2 CD, 1 CD 50 pesos. It tells you that things have changed, and we're going to see more change in the future. That's in the next 20 years. We also had time where we used to listen to songs on cassettes. This time around, we are flipping between the use of CDs and the use of pen drives and what you call memory cards. In the next 20 years, what are we to expect? Those times too, we also had situations where people would use what you call letter writing, letter pads to reach out to their loved ones and all of that. This time around, we have what you call the incentives of social media, where, for example, if you use an app called WhatsApp, you probably might be seeing the person replying your message, and it's also creating some inconvenience for people who are not patient enough to wait for a reply. So sometimes you see people trying to reply a message for almost 5 minutes, and the only thing that comes up is hi. That's the kind of world we live in. So in the next 20 years, we're going to have a lot of things changing. We're going to have a combination even in the food that we eat. We're going to have the reoccurrence of old fashion coming back in worse form. But the question I'm asking is that, are we prepared for it? Are we prepared for it? So in this segment, I'm going to take the whole thing in the next 20 years in 4 segments. The very first one I'd like to address is the family system. So in the next 20 years, what are we to expect? Previously, we had the setting where a young person sets out, is in love, goes out to look for a loved one. In those times, we had 20 years back, we had parents suggesting for their kids or their son as to who he should marry. The ceremonial rites that are done are quite different way back, and that's 20 years behind. But today, things have changed in the family setting. So even on the onset of marriage, things are quite different. You have a lot of people in our current dispensation who claim that they study people they want to settle with, and 2 years down the line, these same people come back and tell us that they cannot live with themselves again, so they want to divorce. So what has changed? A lot of things are changing in the family setting, and in the next 20 years, we are to expect a lot of things. In the next 20 years, we're going to see people who are going to be very used to single parenting. If you ask them, what is a parent? They'll tell you it is a mother or a father who gave birth to you and raised you up single-handedly. That's going to be the definition of the kids in the next 20 years. In the next 20 years, we're going to see a lot of people who, for some reasons and lifestyles, are going to say that I am a male, but I feel I should marry another male. We are seeing it now, but in the next 20 years, we're going to see more of it. It's going to come close to us, close in the church, in our religious settings, everywhere around us. The question is, are we prepared for such system? Because trust me, it's going to come no matter what. In the next 20 years, we're going to have very weird family lifestyles, very weird family systems. You're going to have a lot of insubordination and disobedience from kids to parents, parents to kids, and these things are clearly spelled out in the Bible. And so it's not going to be too much of a new thing, but for those of you who have not prepared yourself for it, you're going to be a little bit surprised. And so in the next 20 years, as far as family is concerned, we're going to have people who are going to come up with strange lifestyle, strange appetite for things. We're going to have parents complaining. We're going to have fathers who are giving up and gone onto the street. We're going to have mothers who are giving up. We're going to have people who have hatred for fathers and have hatred for even siblings. That is the world we're going to have. Are you prepared for it? Let us also look at the next one, which is education in the next 20 years. Previously, we used to write on chalkboards with a white material and a blackboard. Then we moved to markers, where people write on markers and they have to clean it, and so they didn't have to buy a lot of chalk where you'd always be coughing like the teachers do. So education in the past was quite simple. We didn't have much of internet around, and so everything as far as research is concerned, what you probably do is that you have to go to the library or get a big book to do research and read through, and it was quite tedious. But now we have the internet. We have Google. You Google everything you want. We have online libraries where you can read and all of that, and so things are quite easier. In the next 20 years, it's going to be different. People are no longer going to love sitting in the classroom to school. There are going to be gadgets where people just wear it on, and we're going to have what you call virtual universities, where you probably sit in the comfort of your room and you can have a simulation of an environment in a classroom setting where you could probably interact with people. We're going to have people who are no longer using what you call the exercise book notebooks. Even though pen and paper is not going to be erased out of the system, people would probably more be inclined with tabs, iPads and all of that. Technology is going to boom. People are going to sit in classrooms, and they're no longer going to write examination cracking their brains, because I believe that the brain is not for just memorization and pouring out. It's also for creativity. So if you want to keep a lot of information, you're allowed to keep it on a hard disk. And so in the next 20 years, a lot of things are going to happen as far as education is concerned. People will be sitting in their comfort of the room, and they'll be graduates of universities in Europe. It's happening now, but you have a lot of graduates coming out who will probably say, I'm a past student, or I'm an alumni of so-and-so university, but he's never been on that campus before. It's going to happen. And then education is going to be a little bit complex. What I mean by that is people are going to come up with a lot of what you call, they call themselves graduates of certain composition of subjects that they learnt in school. We're not going to have people who want to learn certain courses like the big six, medicine, law, banking, engineering and all of that. There's going to be a lot of combination of things. Somebody would probably say he's going to learn something about football. Somebody's going to learn how to write. He did a course in probably how to take pictures, photography in another advanced level. So we're going to have evolution of a lot of basic things that we see around us that probably are not making money now, but in the near future people are going to come up with content where they're going to make money out of it, and people will pay to go to school to have tuition for such basic stuff. We're going to have recipes coming up, food that we have eaten before but we don't know that the combination of it can be different. So in the next 20 years too, as far as health is concerned, we're going to have a lot of doctors though who are probably training outside coming back into the country. You're going to have the inculcation or the use of technology to prescribe drugs for patients. We have it now, but we're going to have more of it. We're going to have people undergoing surgeries without cutting. We have it, but we're going to have more of it. So in the next 20 years, as far as technology is concerned, we're going to have a lot of changes. We're going to have what you call evolution of viruses and all strange diseases that are going to come, and then the complexities of our thinking is also going to produce different medications to it. How are we prepared for that? And the last thing I'd like to take is also about business. In the next 20 years, how are we going to do business? Previously, 20 years ago, if you want to go and open a bank account, you would have to have a certain amount of money to start with. These days, we have banks chasing us and they want to know where we live. You can open a bank account without actually having any account in it, and that's the kind of business we're going to do. We have apps that help you open bank accounts at the comfort of your room. In the next 20 years, there are going to be a lot of changes. We are no longer going to use physical cash. We probably might be running a cashless society. It's coming up. If you've heard of certain things like Bitcoin and all of that, we're going to have a lot of people making money and not necessarily having to travel from one place to the other in the comfort of their room by the use of a gadget like a mobile phone or a laptop. They're going to have money and be paid for it. So things are going to get a little bit tricky, and the solution to all of these things for you to be able to thrive well is to learn and update yourself. And I'm going to tell you this, and that is a fact, that's the truth. When there's time for crisis, in the next 20 years, people are going to be laid off. And so for those of you who are learning courses in school, for example, you're learning a business course in finance and all of that, I can tell you this is not prophecy, this is just thinking. Somebody is also sitting somewhere designing a software that can do more work than you within a short time. And CEOs would probably pay money to buy those softwares and lay off 10 people that can do the same work the same software can do in 10 minutes. And so what will make you thrive is how best you can learn other things and acquaint yourself with technology and how to use some of these softwares. Because if you're going to go manual, then my good listener and viewer, you are in big trouble. When it's time for crisis, people would employ people that work with their minds and their thinking, and they'll lay off people that work with their hands. If you don't believe this, look around you. If you see the architecture around, the people that carry the bricks, those who mix the mortar, those who did the wiring, the electricity and everything, are paid less than the guy who sat in his room and drew the plan. He's called the architect. He was paid more, but he never carried the brick. Why? Because he used his mind, he didn't use his hands. So, I'm going to tell you, in the next 20 years, the world is going to pay people that work with their minds and not necessarily with their hands. And in the next 20 years, we're going to have cars that are self-driven by software. It's happening in certain countries, and it's going to come back in Africa. So in the next 20 years, these are some of the things that are going to happen. Think through it. We're going to go on a quick short commercial break. When we come back, we take Q&A and we'll be out of the studios. Don't go away. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy.
Chocho Herbal Clinic here. We are pleased to provide you with quality herbal health care. Oh, how listen.
Chocho Herbal Clinic deɛ esan sɛ wapɔmuden ne wayaresa ho hia yɛ ntino yɛwɔ mmerɛmu obia yɛwɔ highly qualified professionals a wɔde abɛɛfo mfidie bɛhwehwɛ ne esi wapɔmuden no ho kwan ne apano aduro nso ama wo well equipped gym a wobɛtumi atentene wo mpɔmu nso wɔ ha aha nso deɛ ebibiduro kro gene yɛde sa yadeɛ Nyaminti yade ko ade baaye no wo beto ma de nigi akofie ye wo Suhum Highways 44
Chocho Herbal Clinic somuye papa no
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery.
Hello viewers, you're welcome back to State of the Mind Address, and in this segment is Q&A, question and answer. So I'm going to read some questions I have and then try and see if you can answer it. If you want to contribute to this, you can just follow us on Facebook. You can look for me, Dale Quest, or Cineplus Ghana. You can just send in your questions on the topics that we'll probably be treating. Any question, we'll try and answer them for you. So I'm going to take the very first question. We have Florence Kuma. Florence Kuma is a nurse, and she's asking a very interesting question. Mind Surgeon, I love your show. God bless you. I am a nurse. I have passed out, but I have still not been posted. I'm a bit stranded. What can I do whilst I stay at home? Okay, so Florence, you're writing shorthand, and I told you I don't do shorthand, but your question is quite interesting. This is what I would suggest. With respect to what we're treating, in the next 20 years, like I said, health-wise, a lot of things are going to change. So you are a nurse. Whilst you wait for the government to post you, you can do a lot of things. You can do things that to help yourself make money, is to go into business. And what I mean by business is not trying to sit down, write proposals and all of that. You're a nurse. So there are a lot of things that you can do around. Create business around your appetite. So what I mean by that is take advantage of the social media. If you love to cook, you probably can be cooking. And I know you probably have, yes, you're on Facebook because you send this via Messenger. So you can be posting some of these pictures instead of posting selfies and all of that. Why don't you post pictures of foods that you can cook and put a price tag on it and a phone number? You'll be shocked. People that will call you, and then you can make deliveries throughout where you find yourself. And so as a nurse, whilst you're waiting, you can do a lot of things. The second thing you can do is also to find a book and read around your profession. Probably further your education, do other courses. If you're a diploma nurse, you can upgrade to degree. If you're a degree, you can upgrade and do your master's. So the time is in your hands. It depends on how you use it. And this is what I will also say. Try and then learn how to use an application or a software on the computer, because it's going to be a system where people are going to advance by the use of computerized systems. So as a nurse, whilst you're sitting and complaining, try and do something. So Florence, I believe that this one helps. This one is from Stephen Entry. Stephen Entry is asking, I am a graduate and an entrepreneur. Currently, I am confused about what to do because it looks like everybody is doing what I am thinking of. So what one thing can I do to stand out and be different? Stephen Entry. Okay, so let me just tell you this to settle you. There's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely nothing new under the sun. And so if you think that you have a business that other people are doing, the question is that in order for you to stand out, what you do is to find the business that connects with your identity. What is it that when you do, everybody will say that you are born for this? Do you understand? For me personally, it has to do with speaking. And so when I start to speak, or when I go out for programs to speak, and people say, okay, so you speak differently. And it's because I have built business around my ability to speak. So you can look out on other avenues where you can start immediately that will require less resources, and then you build out from there. I know sometimes as an entrepreneur you want to go into a lot of things at the same time, but you have to start from somewhere, and that really helps make you focused. And so when you do that, it really helps you to stay focused and make some cool money out of it, and that really helps. And like I always say, that you have to upgrade yourself. Don't be stagnant. Learn something new. Learn a new language. Learn how to greet in a foreign language. Learn how to draw. Learn how to design. Trust me, the future is for those who are going to be upgrading themselves as far as technology is concerned. You have no idea what is going to happen in the next 20 years. And so you would have to acquaint yourself with a certain training. And that's what I want to leave with you as an entrepreneur. So I'm taking only just 2 questions, and thank you for watching. My name is Dale Quest, and I'm the host for State of the Mind Address. I believe that you've learned a thing or two. You can reach me out on all the social media outlets by typing Dale Quest, and we can continue the chat from there. I'm signing out. Keep watching State of the Mind Address. Keep watching Cineplus, and have a great evening and a great week. God bless you. Take care. And we are out.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic